Yo, what's up everyone? Normally I don't make videos like these, but I recently started playing Subnautica again for the first time in like 2 to 3 years, and I love Subnautica. It's one of my favorite games. But in my survival playthrough, I recently found pretty much every wreck in the game, and on YouTube, surprisingly, there aren't really any videos from people that are showing you where all the wrecks are, so that's what this video is going to be about. I want to show you the exact location of every single wreck and what fragments are in there and how to get there, so that's what today's video is going to be about. And as you can tell, I am in creative mode, but you can still easily do this on survival just by this video. Now, as you can see, I have a beacon up here. This is 0 Point. If you don't know where 0 Point is, there are other videos on YouTube of like where it is and how to get to it, so I don't really feel the need to show you guys here. However, if you really want me to, I could make a separate video on how to get there, but you should be able to search it on YouTube, and other YouTubers have made videos on where it is, so that's gonna be a video for another day. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. So the only thing you really need before visiting all these wrecks is a compass, as we are gonna use the compass to locate each wreck. So here we go. Alright, so for the first wreck, you want to head about 2 clicks to the left of northeast on our compass, and then just go in this direction. So I'm obviously going to use beacons, and you probably won't have any, but again, if you just follow this direction, you'll find it. So this first one is in the northeast grassy plateaus biome, so it's fairly easy to get. And here it is, wreck number 1. This is one of the few wrecks with no PDAs, but there's 2 data boxes, one for a lightweight high capacity tank and another for a vehicle upgrade console, as well as some propulsion cannon fragments, and that's about it. This is kind of more of an early game wreck, so there's not much, but it's still good to come here and get. Alright, so wreck number 2, we're gonna head directly west from 0 Point. Alright, so the last wreck, we were at the northeast grassy plateaus, and now we're going to the southwest grassy plateau, so in the completely other direction. Alright, here we are. This is arguably one of the best early wrecks, because there's so much stuff. Not only are there 2 PDAs, but there's also... This is probably the best place to get modification station fragments, as well as battery chargers. But then there's other stuff like propulsion cannons and I think a couple laser cutter fragments. The only problem is that it's one of the hardest to navigate. It's so easy to get turned around, so because of that I would recommend both a rebreather and a pathfinder tool. But other than that, this is a really good early game wreck, so this is one of the better ones on this list. Alright, for wreck number 3, we're going in between 1 and 2 clicks to the right of northeast. Now, this is in a deeper biome, it's in the bulb zone, so I would recommend an MK1 depth module for your Seamoth, and maybe hull reinforcement as well, as there are bone sharks and amp eels in this biome, and they can do good damage, so I would recommend getting that as well. So it's right at the edge of the bulb zone, just past the northeastern mushroom forest, and it is like exactly like on the dot 200 meters below sea level, so you could go here in a regular Seamoth, but just in case I would get the MK1 like I said. Alright, wreck number 3. This one has an abandoned PDA, as well as 3 data boxes. There's one for the Cyclops sonar, the lightweight high capacity tank, and... Oops, sorry about that. Ah, God. The lightweight high capacity tank and the reinforced dive suit. So this is a pretty good wreck as well. There's also some stasis rifle fragments, and I think the indoor grow bed in here as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much all that's in here for this one. Alright, we're back at 0 point, and from here you want to go 1 click left to the north. And this next one is in the underwater islands. It's not too deep, and it's probably one of the best wrecks in the entire game. There is so much stuff in here. With the only issue being there is a ton of bone sharks in this area, so I would get hull reinforcement and maybe even perimeter defense on your Seamoth. One time I was even exploring this wreck, and when I got back out of it, my Seamoth was literally destroyed by bone sharks, so you don't want to leave your Seamoth unattended for too long. But aside from that, this wreck is still totally worth it, and you'll see what I mean here in a bit. So we have arrived. Not only are there 5 data boxes, yeah, you heard that right, there's also a data terminal, as well as a lot of prawn suit arm fragments. This is like the place you would go to for the prawn suit arms. There's a grappling arm, drill arm, and even a propulsion cannon arm, I think, as well. This is another great place for Cyclops engine fragments as well. The best place to get the Cyclops engine fragments is directly behind the Aurora, but this is a good alternative place to get those if you don't want to deal with the Reapers behind the Aurora, so this is an almost better option. You just have to watch out for bone sharks. Alright, starting from 0 point, we want to go 2 clicks to the left of northeast. So let's go there. This is one of the more dangerous wrecks. Not only is it in the mountains biome where most of the Reapers are, but it's also like 350 meters or so deep, so you need an MK2 depth module for your Seamoth just to get down here, as well as maybe hull reinforcement and perimeter defense to fend off the Reapers, or you could just go in a regular Cyclops as well. That would work. Okay, so there's wreck number 1, it's just past that. Okay, we have made it. We are at the very bottom of the mountain island where the alien gun is. We're at like the base of that. So there are 3 data boxes in this wreck. There's an alien containment one for the Cyclops thermal reactor and still suit. There's also a data terminal, and even a few more prawn suit arm fragments, so that's really good. And this is also arguably the best wreck for the nuclear reactors. There's so much scattered around, so that's another thing. There's a lot of miscellaneous stuff too, like there's a bed, there's a wall shelf, and I think there's some plant pots. So, the Aurora is probably the best location to get those, but this wreck also has a lot of like cosmetic stuff, or like decorative stuff for your base. Okay, we are back at 0 point, and from here you want to go in between west and northwest on your compass, so we're just gonna head that way. Now this one is like probably one of the furthest ones away from 0 point, so this is gonna be a long journey. It is in the dunes, so once again we are going into Reaper territory, so definitely get a perimeter defense system so it can't grab your Seamoth. Or you could take it down there with the Cyclops, or maybe some hull reinforcement for your Seamoth, just so it doesn't break as easily. And I would recommend, when you come here, try to hide your Seamoth somewhere. You don't want to leave it out in the open because you don't want the Reapers to get it. So definitely do that. There's also some warpers nearby, so just be mindful of them as well. If you're going to be in a Seamoth, I would also recommend getting the MK2 depth module, as it is like approximately 330 meters deep, so make sure you do that. And here we are. So in this wreck, there's an abandoned PDA. There's only one though. There's also 3 data boxes. One for the MK1 depth module for the Cyclops. There's also a shield generator and an ultra high capacity tank. So those are some 3 really good things to have. There's also some power cell charger fragments and I think a few moon pools as well. But this is another wreck that's easy to get lost in. So definitely get a rebreather so you can breathe longer. You should bring a rebreather to pretty much all of these places. You don't want to get turned around because that's really bad. And then maybe a Pathfinder tool as well. It's very twisty and turny inside, so that would be nice to have as well. Okay, so starting at 0 point, you want to go in between 1 and 2 clicks to the right of southwest, so let's just go this way. So this next one, which is Rec 7, it's in the Sea Treader's path, but it's in the shallower parts of that biome, just past the sparse reef. So it's not too deep, you don't need a depth module or anything, and there's no enemies either, so it's relatively safe. Alright, so in this wreck, there's a data box for the Cyclops decoy tube, Cyclops docking bay repair module, and a Cyclops shield generator. But other than that, there's not much. I think there's some prawn suit fragments and an abandoned PDA, but that's about it as far as I can remember. So for Rec 8, starting at 0 point, you want to go 2.5 clicks to the left of west. Now this one is in the Blood Kelp Trench above the entrance to the Lost River, so it's pretty deep. I think it's just over 300 meters deep, so you're going to need an MK2 depth module for your Seamoth. I wouldn't recommend bringing the Cyclops, as it is kind of hard to fit that big of a submarine in this little space, but be cautious, as I do believe there are some warpers around the wreck. Alright, so the wreck is right here. There's not much in this besides a few moonpool fragments and some prawn suit arms, but there are 2 data boxes, one for a Cyclops fire suppression system and one for a Cyclops sonar upgrade, as well as an abandoned PDA, but other than that, there's not much in this one. This is another wreck that's kind of easy to get lost, so I would maybe recommend a Pathfinder tool, but yeah. Alright, for this next wreck, you want to start at 0 point and go directly northwest. So this 9th wreck is in the northwestern mushroom forest, and it's on top of a tree. So it's pretty shallow, and it's again one of the better wrecks that you can get earlier in the game because it's not too deep, not too dangerous, not too far away. Alright, we are here. So for this one, this wreck in particular has a lot of good fragments for powering stuff like your base and all that. There are power transmitter fragments as well as power cell charger fragments in this one. And there's also 2 data boxes, one for the vehicle upgrade console and another for the Cyclops thermal reactor. So this is a really good wreck to get earlier on in the game. Those are some good stuff for that. And other than that, there's our occasional Cyclops fragments in here and an abandoned PDA. Alright, once you're back at 0 point, for wreck number 10, you want to go right in the middle between south and southwest. I know you probably can't see it because of the surface, but it's right in the middle of those 2. So for this wreck, we are visiting the Grand Reef. Now this one isn't full on in the Grand Reef, it's right at the entrance of it. So it's way more shallow and it's not very deep into the biome. So you can get here fairly early. It's like bordering the kelp forests. This is one of the better wrecks in the game. Alright, so for this wreck, there are 3 data boxes, one for the MK1 Cyclops depth module, one for the Cyclops docking bay repair module, and one for the repulsion cannon, as well as a PDA, and then there's a couple of moonpool fragments and prawn suit drill arms. Alright, so for wreck 11, you want to go 2 clicks to the left of southwest. This wreck is yet again in the Grand Reef, but it's way farther out, way deeper. It's actually the deepest wreck in the game. So you need an MK2 depth module for your Seamoth, or just a regular Cyclops. Actually, the Cyclops would be better because I think there are warpers near this area, and the Cyclops is the one vehicle that the warpers can't warp you out of, so that would actually be quite convenient. I think you might encounter a Ghost Leviathan as well, so yeah, Cyclops is definitely better. Alright, so we are here now. This wreck doesn't have too many fragments. There's a few Moonpool fragments and a few Pwansu arm fragments, but there's 3 data boxes for the Cyclops. One for the decoy tube, one for the sonar, and one for the thermal reactor, as well as an abandoned PDA. Alright, so for wreck number 12, starting from 0 point, you want to go in between 1 and 2 clicks to the right of northwest. So for this one, we are revisiting the grassy plateaus. We're in the northwestern grassy plateaus, so just that direction. Alright, as you can see, it's a smaller wreck, and it's more of an early game one, so there's not too much here. However, this is arguably the best wreck for both scanner room fragments and propulsion cannon fragments, so that's really nice. And there are no data boxes or PDAs though, so that's pretty much all there is. Okay, so wreck number 13, you want to go directly south on your compass from 0 point. This one is in the southeast grassy plateaus, so this is another relatively easy one to get, and it's very small too, so... So this one has an abandoned PDA, as well as a data box for the Ultra Glide fins, and beside from that, there are some bioreactor fragments and scanner room fragments as well. So this one is slightly better than the last one. So Rec 14, you want to go 2 clicks to the right of southwest. This will be the last one in the grassy plateaus. This is in the southwest one. So, much like Vec 12, this is a way smaller one. However, this one has an abandoned PDA as well as a lot of propulsion cannon and modification station fragments. Alright, starting back at 0 point, you want to go only half a click to the right of south. This one is in the safe shallows, so this one's fairly close by. Alright, this one is at such an early place in the game. You could pretty much get here instantly. I think your life pod can possibly spawn like right in this area, so you don't even need a laser cutter or anything. This one is just small and you can't go inside, so you can only scan the fragments outside, but there's plenty of Sea Glide fragments here, so this would be a great spot to go like when you're starting the game. So for this next Rec 16, we want to head 2 clicks to the left of southeast. This Rec is yet again in the safe shallows, so it's very close by, and this is actually the shallowest Rec in the game, and it's probably going to be one of the first Recs you explore. Alright, so because this is such an early game Rec, much like the last one, there's no way to get inside, and there's no like PDAs or data boxes. However, there are a few Sea Glide fragments nearby and maybe some Grav Trap and Beacon fragments as well, but that's pretty much about it for this one. Alright, so for this next Rec, you want to head 1 click to the right of north. This is another early game Rec. It's in the Kelp Forest, and I think it's the closest Rec to 0 point. I could be wrong though, but I think so. Alright, so there's nothing really much in this Rec besides 1 abandoned PDA and a lot of mobile vehicle bay fragments, and I think there might be a stasis rifle fragment in this one as well. Alright, for Rec 18, from 0 point you want to head one click to the left of northwest. This is in the western portion of the kelp forest, so same biome as last time, but in a different direction. Alright, we are here. Now, unlike the previous wreck, this one doesn't have a PDA, however there is a data box for the compass and some mobile vehicle bay fragments. Alright, for Rec 19 we're venturing out into farther lands. So for this one you want to go one click to the left of northeast. This is in the mountains biome, so there's going to be lots of reapers nearby, which is why I would recommend a hull reinforcement and a perimeter defense system on your Seamoth, maybe a shield generator for the Cyclops if you're taking it down here. And if you're in the Seamoth, you need the MK1 depth module, I believe, as this one is pretty far down. And I believe there is a Reaper, like, right above this next wreck, so be very careful. Alright, so this one's a lot smaller than the other wreck in this biome, Wreck 5. This wreck has two data boxes, one for the Cyclops docking bay and the other for the decoy tube. And other than that, there's only nuclear reactor fragments and Pwansu arms, I think, maybe something else, but there's not much going on for this one. Alright, for Wreck 20, you want to go directly southwest from 0 point. Okay, so this is the first and only wreck in the sparse reef, so there's not too many enemies nearby, it's relatively safe. However, I do think it's just over 200 meters deep, so bring an MK1 depth module for your Seamoth to get here. So now that we are here, there are three data boxes, one for the Cyclops fire suppression system, one for the reinforced dive suit, and one for the vehicle upgrade console. And I do think there's also power cell charger fragments here and then some other stuff, but that's about it. So for these last three wrecks, I don't know what number they are on the wiki, so I don't even know if these are in the correct order, so I'm sorry if I got anything wrong. But also, if you go on the wiki, it says that there's 24 wrecks in the game, but I think one of them includes the Aurora, which is that big-ass ship that you just can't miss. So that's why that's not in this video. I just wanted to say that to remove any confusion, so let's just continue. Alright, so for the third to last wreck in this video, you want to head directly west from 0 point. This one is in the dunes, so we are going in Reaper territory, and I think there's not one but two Reapers that are really close to this next wreck, so you're definitely going to need a Cyclops shield generator if you're going in Cyclops, or a Seamoth with hull reinforcement and perimeter defense, and maybe even a Mark 1 depth module. Hi, Reaper. So for this one, there's two data boxes, one for the reinforced dive suit and one for the vehicle upgrade console. There's also a couple Prawn suit fragments and power cell chargers as well, so there's a lot of stuff in this one, surprisingly, for such a small wreck. Okay, so from 0 point for this next wreck, Wreck 22, you want to go directly west, pretty much the same direction we went to for the previous wreck. It's also in the same biome as well. We're going back to the dunes, so again, there's a lot of Reapers. Again, you want hull reinforcement for your Seamoth, depth modules, even a perimeter defense, or a shield generator with a Cyclops. Alright, so this is one of the worst wrecks in the game. There's not a whole lot. It's still not bad. There's not a whole lot of stuff, though. There's only one data box for the still suit, and then just a few prawn suit fragments, and that's about it. Right, on to the last wreck in this video. We're going back to the bulb zone. So you want to go in between northeast and east on your compass and just follow that direction. So like I said, we're going back to the bulb zone for this one. There's a lot of amp eels, a lot of bone sharks. You most definitely need hull reinforcement for your sea moth. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is the closest wreck to the void. I could be wrong, but there are two data boxes, one for the water filtration suit and the other for the alien containment unit, so this is where you would usually go for that. There's also tons of fragments for like the stasis rifle, the power transmitter, scanner room, maybe even a couple of modification stations. But yeah, this is a pretty decent wreck altogether, albeit small. Alright, so that is every wreck location in Subnautica. Now, like I said, I usually don't make videos like this, and I'm probably not going to make another one like this. I just wanted to do this because, again, I was looking up stuff on YouTube, and there's like hardly any videos on every wreck location. There's some with like a few wrecks, but no like videos ever showed like all of them, so that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's the end of the video. Peace out, y'all.